All right, welcome into Market Day Report. I'm Scott Shellady, otherwise known as the Cow Guy. I've got the smile on. I'm glad to see everybody here. If you're just joining us, that's great. If you've been with us all day, that's even better. Let's talk about what we've got going on in the markets, because that's really why you tuned in. You don't care what I've got to say. Let's take a look and see what we've got going on in Chicago with that corn market, right? And this thing, you just you can't get out of bed. Look at this corn. Let's start with Dees. It's off a quarter cent, 45.5. It was like this a lot yesterday. We got a 5-cent range on the day too, so that's not shocking anybody. But look at that. This one's just laying there. I think we're waiting to see what we get from the government next week. Now we're sharply unchanged in that Dees contract, 45.75. But really, nothing to report here. It's the same as it's been in the last few days, waiting to see, I think, what the government's going to get us on Tuesday. Now, moving over to the soybeans, they're a little weaker here, letting the air out, aren't we? Really, 14 cents lower. No, 13.62 last there, a penny and a quarter off the lows of a 17-cent range. That'll give you a nice, good sign of weakness. Jan's off 13.5 cents on its own, 13.75 is last in Jan. When we talk about Chicago wheat, the wheat in Chicago, we've got a little bit of a lower board. It's 2.75 cents lower in the Dees. 6.06 is last there. About 2.25 cents off the lows there as well. And we've had what? That's about a 9-cent range, almost 10-cent range when it comes to Dees wheat in Chicago. 2.5 cents lower in the March behind it. 6.32 even is last in March. From Chicago, we go to Kansas City. Let's take a look at the hard red there. That too is lower. A lot of red on the screen today here, folks. 7 cents lower in the Dees. 7.42.5 is last. That's 2.5 cents off the lows. We've got a 14-cent range. If we're 2.5 cents off the lows of a 14-cent range, that's going to give you a mental picture that we're looking at some weakness here. 7.25 cents lower. That's the Dees hard red wheat in Kansas City. 7.42 is the price. Spring wheat in Minneapolis. Let's take a look at that. That Dees contract is down 4.5 cents there. 7.78 last, 2 cents from the lows there. And again, we've had about 11-cent range, exactly, actually, in the Dees. And so if we were 2.25 cents off the lows of an 11-cent range, that'll give you an idea about what's been going on there. 4.25 cents is lower on the day, and the price again is 7.7825. We're going to take a look at the cotton here. What's going on in the Dees cotton's down 153 points today. Boy, we made a run up to that 90. Now we've backed off hard. 85.47 is last. We're only about 15 points off of the low there today. All right, well, let's try to get this one right. We're going to go to CHS and our next guest analyst, Peter Haralambakis. I think I've got that right. There we go. I've got a smile on his face. Well, I got it right the first time. Every now and again, a blind squirrel finds a nut. What do you think about these markets? What do you got for us?
Well, again, it's a sea of red out there, like you just said, right? We were up a little bit on the wheat, but we have turned around. Main focus out there, obviously, is heat and drought. That's spurring a lot of some of the early corn harvests out there in some regions in the grain belt. That heat and drought in parts of the western U.S. Midwest has sped up the crop to maturity, prompting the early harvesting, right? So supplies from an early harvest will weigh on the markets, but will also bring about uncertainties with crop quality and or potential for reduced grain yields, which we'll kind of see in the markets from time to time with some of those fear rallies or the uncertainty rallies, right? These potential for extra supplies with record production from Brazil, coupled with a 2+ billion carryout on the horizon on Tuesday, has kept a lid on these rallies in corn, right? For almost a month now. If you look back on August 11th, we were trading about 487 in the Dees corn, right? We're looking at the board right now, 486, right? So even though we've had these ups and downs throughout a month, it hasn't gone very far, and we're just waiting for some of that actual data to hit, right? So all eyes are on Tuesday's WASDE on whether or not some of these recent lowered forecasts on yield per acre comes to fruition, right? So our team, in regard to corn, has a yield number of 174.4 bushels per acre, which would be a little bit lower than the USDA estimates, but again, still around that 2.1, 2.2 billion carryout on the horizon. Beans as well. So again, beans have turned around intraday. We're down about 14.25, like you were saying. So again, same kind of situation there with regard to prices being curtailed by Brazilian competition, right? It's off its hot and dry uncertainty rally that we tapped 14.05 about I guess a couple weeks ago, or August 28th. So again, we're trying to support or catch some support levels down here with the short-term moving averages at the 22-day moving average at 13.62 right now. So we'll see if that holds. But again, the WASDE, we have our yield number is around 50.7. versus the USDA's of 50.9. So again, we have a carryout a little bit lower than many have also, which is kind of closer to the minimum level or below the pipeline minimums, but with 219 million bushels. But again, overall, it's well below USDA's carryout number of 245 million bushels. Should be supportive prices as crush demand continues to crank higher, right? So that's still in place. That's going to be on the horizon for the next couple years, really. So wheat overall, like you said, that's having trouble kind of gaining any traction. I think it started, the trouble started when there was a technical death cross that presented itself around that 780,
the old
780
death cross.
level.
Yeah.
The old death cross, 780 level at the end of last year. So it's been a while. So it struggled to keep any gains, whether it be geopolitical or weather related, right? So our team, in regard to yield numbers, we have 46.3 bushels per acre out there. Carry out number of 636 million bushels. So again, even as Ukraine has started exporting grains via Croatian seaports, and some of those headlines hit the market today, again, it's going to find some trouble kind of reversing its momentum to the downside along the lines of the trend. So
great stuff, great content. Really appreciate you coming on. Peter Haralambakis, thank you very much for coming to us all the way from Pennsylvania. We're going to go away. We're going to pay some bills. We're going to come back and talk more livestock with me after this.